Yo, what's happening, YouTube family? I hope that everybody's doing well out there. Today, I want to talk about a super important topic that is personal to me, and that is the topic around the challenges of being a black designer. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because over the years, I have sensed that the folks that I mentor feel very ashamed of talking about this topic. That's on one spectrum. And then on the other spectrum, what I find with people who are very advanced in their careers or who are in leadership positions, they may feel a sense of having something to lose because they understand that if they have these conversations publicly, they can be looked at in a certain light, or they feel like their words can be put under a microscope and used in a malicious way that wasn't a part of their intent, right? So I'm a part of that group myself, right? I'm experienced, and I know the risks that come with putting out this type of content, but I also know that it's a part of my personal mission, and a part of my purpose to try to improve the experiences of black and brown people who try to enter this space in tech, right? And I think that the more that we push young black and brown individuals into this space, the more information that we need, right? And I think it's powerful to have that type of information because when we get into this space, we have the tools that we need once we get here, right? I do not see a lot of people having these conversations where we talk about solutions around dealing with what you feel and how to express your emotions when you deal with microaggressions or anything of that nature, right? We talk about a lot of the problems, but we don't talk about like things that have helped us or how we've dealt with certain situations publicly, right? And I think, like I said, the more tools that the younger generation has, especially with AI blowing up, the better off they're going to be in general, right? So we need to normalize these types of conversations, in my opinion. Anyways, what I'm going to do in this video is talk about my personal experiences, a few of them, not all of them, but I'll talk about a few that are top of mind at each point in my career and how I have gone about dealing with that stuff. Now, I am cooking from my family, so you're gonna hear some stuff go off, right? I'm doing the blackest thing that I could do. You know, I'm just letting you know, I'm cooking up a storm. I'm cooking some squash, right? Um, so I got a moment. So I wanted to make this video. Anyways, let's start at the beginning of my career. So when I was starting out, I think that the biggest struggle I had was that I could not find another black man who was in a leadership position who I could look up to. And the reason that was difficult for me is because I questioned how far I could go, right? I questioned what my value would be or could be, right? And I felt a little, I felt very alone in the beginning. But when I started to have those internal conversations, how I reframed my mindset was, yo, I'm not finding anybody who I want to aspire to be, but why can't I become it? Why can't I become somebody who could, at some point, pull other people up? If I want to create the world that I want to see, I have to become somebody who I'm not yet, right? So I'm still on that journey. We're not there yet. I haven't arrived, but it has been one of the most blessed journeys to be on, since I have not seen many people like me, since I have not met many people who come from a similar background. I have been able to become somebody who then pulls somebody else up, which is it makes me feel most alive, right? It makes me feel most alive to have those types of conversations with those types of individuals who may have also felt how I felt at one point in my career, right? So that's the first thing I'll say. That starting out, that was the hardest thing. Today, I have seen and met, a lot more men who are design leaders, right, and a lot more women as well, who are people of color, which is something that makes me proud because we have come so far, right? But we still got a long way to go. The second thing that I will say is that once I got into the workplace, I started experiencing microaggressions, right? And when they first started happening, I would just kind of brush it off, and somebody would downplay what they said. Like somebody in one meeting, they were like, "Yo, Jeremy, do you listen to Snoop Dogg?" And I was like, and this was in front of people, right? And I was like, I didn't know how to respond, but I was like, nah, I actually listened to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, right? And then it became a joke, but it made me feel a certain way, right? So that was one thing. And then there was a situation where a colleague was yelling at me in one-on-one meetings, and I brought it to the attention of my manager and their manager, and they didn't know how to deal with that situation. And eventually, I got put on another team, and I was like, "Yo, like the person that actually yelled at me, nothing happened to them, and it felt like some sort of retaliation uh, in this political environment that I was working in, right? So I brushed that off, but I also internalized how I felt about that situation. And that eventually led to me feeling the physical effects of my emotions, right? And mentally, spiritually, it wasn't a good situation. And I started to feel lost, right? And so I was like, yo, maybe I need to conform to being somebody else. Maybe I need to adapt to my environment, right? And I tried that out, started feeling more lost, right? And so I was like, yo, I need help. I need to reach out to somebody. I can't just lean on my wife for this because, although she is my support system, I could not just speak to her about those things because she was dealing with her own things, right? So fortunately, I had the resources. There goes that oven. But fortunately, I had the resources to pay for therapy, and that's what I did. I hired a therapist, talked about my emotions, felt a lot better, felt like my spirit just weighed less, right? To finally verbalize how I felt. And a lot of things from my childhood started to come up. And I recognized how, because of certain situations in my childhood, I was starting to personalize those things in my adulthood, right? So I was still attaching myself to this person I was in the past and not becoming the person that I wanted to actually aim to become, right? Which was, I feel like that is one of the most worthwhile growth experiences in my human journey, right? So I felt maybe I needed that at some point, right? Maybe I needed that person to yell at me. Not that I wanted it, not that I condone it, but it did make me grow 20-fold, right? To go through that experience. And the third thing I talk about lastly is just the fact that still to this day, I go on interviews where hiring managers or, it could be an HR person, they will still question the value that I can bring or the talent that I have. And what do I do in those moments? I recognize the vibe and I don't question it anymore. I'm like, yo, this is what I'm seeing. It is what it is. Do I want to be in that environment on a daily basis? Probably not. So now I look at jobs like I look at relationships. You would not go out into the street and just try to make a relationship or be a friend to everybody, right? Everybody is not for you. Every job opportunity is not for you. So you need to recognize that. And when you start to see that, there are good people out there, there are, good employers, there are, you have to find them. And when you have the hope that somebody will embrace you and your story and your talents, then you start to gravitate more towards them, and you just kind of stay away from the ones that you're not connecting with. All right, just like every human relationship. That's how I look at it. Right, couple things that I will say as solutions that can help you progress and stay steady on this journey as a person of color is to build your community. That's the first thing. Reach out to like-minded people who are taking the non-traditional route. If you're going that route, if you're not in a design boot camp, if you're not in a design institution where you're getting some type of master's degree or a BA in design, right? Those non-traditional routes may be still discriminated against, but if you can have a support system, right? If you can build some type of support system for yourself with like-minded people or people that you admire, then mentally things can start to click to allow yourself to feel like, you belong somewhere, right? That you have a place of belonging. We all need that. We all need that, no matter how much we say we don't. And we could just do it on our own, right? We all need to feel connected to each other. The second thing I'll say is that it's important to embrace your narrative. If you are coming from a different field altogether, it doesn't mean that you don't have design skills. It just means that you need to understand how to communicate your value and your story in a way that is rational, right? If you say that you were a teacher and you're like, I just don't have no design experience, you kind of do. You know how to connect stories to how people learn about things, right? There's a certain way that people just understand. We all understand the world through story, right? And if you're a teacher who needs to connect with kids and they're just trying to tune you out because they're like, just like, yo, man, you're not a part of my generation. We like this TikTok stuff and we won't listen to you. Like, you have to understand how to connect, right? Same thing when you work in the workplace. The third thing is that you need to build up the mental resilience to keep going, right? And one way that you can do that is by looking at the things that you've overcome, looking at the things that you've struggled with, looking back. That's where the confidence is, right? When you look into your past and you're like, yo, I overcame being homeless. Yo, I overcame being broke. I overcame getting into the US, right? My parents were immigrants. When you embrace that struggle, that's where the confidence is. People's words or their doubts becomes minimal compared to the shit that you went through in the past, right? So embrace that struggle. The fourth thing I'll say is that your mindset is powerful. It's the most powerful thing that you can use on this journey, because if you can believe it and you can start to visualize and see it, then you will do the little things that it takes to get to the place that you want to get to, right? So your mindset is the most powerful thing in this world, right? Because it can visualize and it can create what's not yet here, right? And the fifth thing I'll say is that you need to learn how to express your emotions and learn how you feel, right? Because when you start to express how you feel and learn about your own inner world, then you start to understand, who is it that I want to be around? What type of person do I want to be, but who do I want to connect to, right? Because when you start to do that work, then you know the opportunities that are actually good opportunities for growth, and you understand what opportunities are actually distractions, right? Not every job is a good opportunity. Not every gig that you get or that's brought to your attention and put in your lap is something that is a fit for you, right? Just like every friendship Just like every relationship is not something that you should be in. It's something that you could, pay attention to, but you have to understand what intention is behind all of these things, including your own, right? So, yeah, guys, I hope that this information was helpful. If you know a black or brown young person that needs a little bit of advice and golden nuggets, please pass this along. I'm in fatherhood mode 24/7 now. So I've started to embrace, what it's like to pass on this type of information, because I've started to do that with my kids. It's starting to become a normal part of my life to just share a little bit more based on my own experiences and my life experiences, right? So I just hope that this was helpful for you, and know that you're not alone in that journey, even though you may feel like it, right? I did not name all the negative things that black or brown people go through in the tech industry, because we are well aware of those things, right? That there are less than 3% of us in certain jobs, in certain workplaces, and there's a pay gap and all of those things, right? There's all of these problems, but I don't think that other people are going to solve these problems for us. We have to solve it amongst each other by sharing information, by having conversations, and by doing the work, right? By doing the work of bringing each other up and helping each other come up in these spaces, right? So anyways, guys, if this content connected with you in any way, if it helped your mindset a little bit, you already know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.